The latest updates on the mass shooting that took place today in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 26-year-old Esteban Santiago shot and killed 5 people, wounded 8 others at the Fort Lauderdale airport. He had an active U.S. military ID. He opened fire at a baggage carousel there at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. And a lot of people were sort of seen today on the television scrambling there on the tarmac. What we know about this man thus far is that apparently he collected his luggage from the carousel and then loaded the weapon in the bathroom and then went out and were shooting people execution style. Well, now there's kind of some conflicting stories coming out. Air Canada says that they have no record of this Florida suspect on any of their flights as well. They say they have no record of any checked guns on any of the flights to Fort Lauderdale. So they're saying that he came in from a flight from Canada. So there's just a little bit of a discrepancy there. And then also, once again, we have someone who was known to the authorities. Apparently, in November of 2016, he went to the FBI headquarters in Anchorage, Alaska, and said that he was being forced to fight for ISIS. At the time, they sent him to a hospital there for a psychological examination. They sent him to the psych hospital. So here he is still in possession of his weapons. He's carrying them on a plane with him. He also had apparently been investigated by Homeland Security investigators for child porn. They, at the time, seized 3 weapons and a computer, but there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute him at the time. Now, the suspect was not hurt in this incident. He just laid on the ground and was ready to be taken away after he ran out of ammunition. This story is still developing, so we will have all the updates throughout the weekend on any new information that comes in. But, you know, we just had a flashback from the Brussels attack last year, where they were talking about the fact that now it was time to start moving these security checkpoints and these scanners outside of the airport. So indeed here, now that this happened at the baggage claim at the carousel, this is going to, of course, affect the way that people are allowed to bring guns on flights with them as well. They're going to be moving these security checkpoints outside of the airport, absolutely. And the authorities cannot conclude at this time if there is a much more sinister motive behind this attack. Was he indeed being directed by ISIS? Was he having psychiatric problems, thinking that he was being controlled by ISIS? We do not know at this time. We can't say for sure if it was an act of terrorism or if this is just another lone wolf or what it is. So we'll have updates throughout the weekend. Now I'm joined in studio by Darren McBreen, and we want to draw your attention to what was to be the big story of Friday, this intel report. Now this is the U.S. intelligence community's declassified report that they just released today, concluding with their very high level of confidence, no evidence, that Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an influence campaign aimed at hurting Hillary Clinton and helping Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential election. And
after this hearing, we're no closer to finding out the truth than we were a month ago, a week ago, yesterday. I mean, they are saying that they have overwhelming evidence that proves without a doubt that the Russians hacked the DNC in favor of Donald Trump to win the elections, what have you. And like I said, there's still no proof. They're saying it's an anonymous source within the CIA. All right. And I thought it was interesting. The White House press secretary, Josh Earnest, he was asked where the intelligence sources came from, and his response was extremely interesting. Check it out.
Quick other question. So as far as the Russian hacks go, I know normally you can't discuss, sources and methods and how you guys are getting intelligence, but can you at least characterize the sort of intelligence that's coming in that proves that this was a Russian hack? Is it digital fingerprints that you're tracing back to a computer in Russian possession? Is it human sourcing that you're intercepting phone calls and hearing Russians talk about this kind of thing?
Yeah.
Where's the confidence coming from?
Well, I'm obviously quite limited in what I can say from here, but I think there are a couple of things that I can point to that I think...
look at your notes. Look at your notes.
that I think answer the questions that you've raised. It's essentially 2. The first is the statement that was issued by the intelligence community in October of 2016, before the election, making clear that Russia was interfering in our election. Represented the consensus view of 17 different intelligence agencies.
How dare you question them?
That's not usually the way intelligence works. That kind of unanimity of opinion, particularly when the stakes are so high, is notable.
So it is notable, and because 17 different intelligence agencies agree, they are unified in their belief that it was the Russians. And when I heard that, it got me thinking about Colin Powell and his UN address. He said 16 U.S. intelligence agencies all agreed, they were unified in their agreement that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction.
Had known the intelligence was wrong, we would not have gone into Iraq. But the intelligence community, all 16 agencies, assured us that it was right. My speech at the UN was based on that information.
Every statement I make today is backed up by sources, solid sources. These are not assertions. What we're giving you are facts and conclusions based on solid intelligence.
Right. And this is once again James Comey that had this solid assessment. It was a personal assessment, but he said without it, undoubtedly that's his assessment that they had weapons of mass destruction. They were taking it over into Syria.
But how dare you question the Central Intelligence Agency?
Right. And they're actually pushing that narrative out there that we are not patriotic if we would rather believe Putin than these 17 intelligence agencies.
Yeah, what was really scary, and we're going to play this clip next, Chuck Schumer, this sounded like a threat to me. This was a threat from Chuck Schumer to Donald Trump from the CIA.
But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
So we got a potential JFK situation on our hands?
Well, and Donald Trump does not trust the CIA, and we have a lot of clips lined up. I want to play another one. He was approached by a Fox News reporter a few months ago and asked if he trusts the CIA. Donald Trump says, not so much.
Do you trust intelligence?
Not so much from the people that have been doing it for our country. I mean, look what's happened over the last 10 years. Look what's happened over the years. I mean, it's been catastrophic. And in fact, I won't use some of the people that are sort of your standards. Just use them. Very easy to use them. But I won't use them because they've made such bad decisions. I mean, you look at Iraq, you look at the Middle East, it's a total powder keg. If we would have never touched it, it would have been a lot better. I mean, we would have been much better off, on top of which we've spent probably $4 trillion. Nobody even knows what we've spent. So, no, I have great people, and General Flynn is one of them.
Well, and he's absolutely right there, because I was making this comment yesterday. Why the hell are we still trusting what James Comey has to say? They're using the exact same people who gave us these faulty assessments that took us into war in Iraq. And then they say, oh, well, we've tried to learn a lot, so we won't make that mistake again. And yet here they're making it again and demanding that the American public believe their assessment because all 17 of the agencies are in agreement. But frankly, that's not even true. If you go back, you can see where a lot of them didn't want to just really stand behind this 100%.
And they come from anonymous sources. And that's the thing. So you can always say it's an anonymous source from the CIA. Look, the CIA is a rogue agency, all right? They lied about Vietnam. They lied about WMDs in Iraq. They lied about JFK. They lied about drug trafficking in the United States, Benghazi, Cubana Flight 455, 9/11, Google searched the 28 pages. They are a rogue agency. Donald Trump has every reason not to believe them. And okay, another clip. What about Harry Reid? Remember, Harry Reid said that he was going to give Donald Trump false intelligence reports. Let's check it out. Harry Reid actually said this publicly.
It's obvious that he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's obvious he can't control his mind or his tongue. And what I've suggested, if now, because he's the nominee for the party, and he's entitled to briefings from the CIA, for example, I said publicly, give him fake briefings. Pretend you're briefing. Don't tell him anything that you don't want to get out. And that's how I feel about it. I think the man is a loose cannon. I think he's done so much to hurt our country with our international relations already.
But as a Republican nominee, isn't he entitled to get those briefings?
Give him fake briefings.
What does that even mean?
It means he'll tell him stuff. He won't know the difference.
You're basically telling the intelligence community to lie.
Fake news. Fake news.
Yep, fake news.
Give the president fake news.
I'm not going to lie to you, but I just don't have to tell you everything.
Just totally unbelievable. So I guess this is the 6 ways to Sunday that they can get back at him, is by giving him some fake news to the president. But you're absolutely right. He does not trust the CIA, and he has very good reason to. A lot of us have very good reason to. You pointed out quite a few great examples. Trump is, of course, questioning why the heck hasn't the DNC allowed the FBI to access their servers? If you truly believe that the Russians hacked in and you want to find these cyber fingerprints as some actual evidence to present your case, why not allow the FBI to actually access these servers? Is it because you're, afraid of what they're going to find out you all were up to, or was there no evidence there? And then, frankly, we also have some cyber pros. This is coming out of McClatchy, D.C., who are backing up Trump's skepticism of the Russian hack.
Yeah, and you don't hear about that.
Yeah,
at least on the mainstream.
We have these cyber pros, and they're saying, look, once malware gets out there, It's out there.
It's out.
You
It's up for
have no
grabs. It's up for
control
grabs.
over the malware.
And Julian Assange from WikiLeaks, he has said from day one that it was not the Russians. It was not the Russians. He said it from the very beginning. We know from our sources that it was more than likely disgruntled U.S. intelligence agencies from within. It was an inside job. These guys are scared to death of Hillary Clinton. They don't want World War III. So it wasn't a hacked document. It was these documents were simply released by disgruntled officials within the intelligence community.
Well, if you could just see how much the globalists, the establishment was scrambling to try to destroy and delegitimize Donald Trump, which was just trying so much to get Hillary Clinton elected. I mean, they had a full-on agenda that they can see is just crumbling before their eyes. So they are scrambling, and they literally would rather take us to war with Russia than allow their long-term agenda to be foiled.
Well, and what you're saying now is what is more important? Who hacked, if there was a hack, we know it was a release, but who hacked the DNC, or what were the contents within the documents?
Right.
What is more important?
We're actually seeing the corruption that's there, but that's not what's important here. It's that we don't need to know how corrupt the system is, how the establishment media is totally colluding with the globalists to push through this agenda while they think we're all just a bunch of idiots who deserve to be lied to because we're not smart enough to handle the truth. We're not smart enough to handle this information.
You can't handle the truth.
And of course, you know, they're kind of attacking Donald Trump and his some other senators as well, because they're saying, who are these anonymous sources that are giving this intelligence to NBC and the Washington Post? They're rushing to publish these stories as if this Russian hacking, you know, without any evidence, they're just rushing to push this narrative out there. Meanwhile, they haven't even given the reports to the president-elect, but yet they're rushing to push them out to the newspaper with no evidence.
That's right. Well, I've got one more clip I want to share with you, and I think we can close this segment out with this. And this is for anyone who says that a U.S. president or a senator or a congressman can't have someone killed. I thought that Chuck Schumer, I thought that was chilling, what he just said, and I think it was a warning to Donald Trump. But for those of you who think that our government is not capable of taking someone out, here is a classic scene from The Godfather.
My father's no different than any other powerful man. Any man who's responsible for other people. Like a senator or a president.
You know how naive you sound.
Why?
Senators and presidents don't have men killed.
Oh. Who's being naive, Kay?
What's wrong? You don't like a small group of psychos hijacking your country? Well, become president of the United States and change it from the... Never mind.
3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
In case you haven't heard, InfoWars has become the most influential media outlet in America. We're making freedom go viral. And now we are proud to announce a new weapon in the epic battle against the globalists. InfoWars Prime, where you can watch live high-definition feeds of The Alex Jones Show, plus exclusive insider videos from the InfoWars crew and behind-the-scenes action. Go to Infowars.com/app and download today. InfoWars Prime is available right now for your iPhone or Android. You will have access to exclusive videos that you can't see anywhere else. And that means live coverage of events and breaking news on location as it happens. You can also take advantage of amazing deals from the InfoWars store that are only available for InfoWars Prime subscribers. That's InfoWars Prime at Infowars.com/app. If you can hear my voice, you are the resistance.
The latest updates on the mass shooting that took place today in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 26-year-old Esteban Santiago shot and killed 5 people, wounded 8 others at the Fort Lauderdale airport. He had an active U.S. military ID. He opened fire at a baggage carousel there at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. And a lot of people were sort of seen today on the television scrambling there on the tarmac. What we know about this man thus far is that apparently he collected his luggage from the carousel and then loaded the weapon in the bathroom and then went out and were shooting people execution style. Well, now there's kind of some conflicting stories coming out. Air Canada says that they have no record of this Florida suspect on any of their flights as well. They say they have no record of any checked guns on any of the flights to Fort Lauderdale. So they're saying that he came in from a flight from Canada. So there's just a little bit of a discrepancy there. And then also, once again, we have someone who was known to the authorities. Apparently, in November of 2016, he went to the FBI headquarters in Anchorage, Alaska, and said that he was being forced to fight for ISIS. At the time, they sent him to a hospital there for a psychological examination. They sent him to the psych hospital. So here he is still in possession of his weapons. He's carrying them on a plane with him. He also had apparently been investigated by Homeland Security investigators for child porn. They, at the time, seized 3 weapons and a computer, but there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute him at the time. Now, the suspect was not hurt in this incident. He just laid on the ground and was ready to be taken away after he ran out of ammunition. This story is still developing, so we will have all the updates throughout the weekend on any new information that comes in. But, you know, we just had a flashback from the Brussels attack last year, where they were talking about the fact that now it was time to start moving these security